right, folks. Thanks for checking out the video. I want to talk today about Massachusetts Representative Ayanna Pressley accusing Walgreens of racial discrimination for shutting down stores in theft-plagued neighborhoods. Okay, so from the Gateway Pundit here, it says, "You can't make this up. Squad member Rep. Ayanna Pressley has accused pharmacy giant Walgreens of racial discrimination for its decision to close stores in neighborhoods with high crime rates, including locations in her district, Massachusetts' 7th Congressional District." During a speech on the House floor, Rep. Pressley condemned the pharmacy giant for its decision to shut down a store on Warren Street in Roxbury, an area she noted is, quote, 85% Black and Latino. She cited this move as part of a worrying pattern of withdrawal from low-income communities. The radical congresswoman condemned the impact of such closures on residents who rely on the pharmacies for essential items, including medications and health supplies. Rep. Pressley, alongside Senators Elizabeth Warren and Ed Markey, has called for a detailed explanation from the CEO of Walgreens. Why was there no community input, no adequate notice to customers, and no transition resources to prevent gaps in healthcare? Shame on you, Walgreens. Having a website with talking points about health equity and underserved communities is not enough. Walgreens is a multi-billion-dollar corporation that needs to put their money where their mouth is and stop divesting from Black and brown communities. So here's a brief clip from the remarks made by Ms. Pressley.
Mr. Speaker, Walgreens is planning to close yet another pharmacy in the Massachusetts 7th, this time on Warren Street in Roxbury, a community that is 85% Black and Latino. This closure is a part of a larger trend of abandoning low-income communities like the previous closures in Mattapan and Hyde Park, both in the Massachusetts 7th. When a Walgreens leaves a neighborhood, they disrupt the entire community, and they take with them baby formula, diapers, asthma inhalers, life-saving medications, and of course, jobs. These closures are not arbitrary, and they are not innocent. They are life-threatening acts of racial and economic discrimination. That is why I joined with Senator Markey and Warren to demand answers from Walgreens CEO. Why was there no community input, no adequate notice to customers, and no transition resources to prevent gaps in healthcare? Shame on you, Walgreens. Having a website with talking points about health equity and underserved communities is not enough. Walgreens is a multi-billion-dollar corporation that needs to put their money where their mouth is and stop divesting from Black and brown communities.
Okay, all right. So that was Representative Ayanna Pressley from Massachusetts. It goes on to say here, in 2020, the FBI named Massachusetts as the most violent state in New England. So I thought this was interesting here. Obviously, a company like Walgreens is not going to operate stores at a loss or operate stores that aren't in safe areas, right? They have employees, they have liability. So it's not going to make sense for them to keep these stores open if they're losing money or if they're just constantly in need of employees or repairs or all sorts of things. So I don't know what she's talking about. She needs to go into her district, into these communities, and find out, well, what the hell is going on, right? Just because you live in a poor area, I've lived in poor areas. I've traveled through poor areas. There isn't a necessary amount of crime that needs to happen in these areas. You can be poor and not a criminal. I mean, that should go without saying. So this Ayanna Pressley and it mentioned the senators from Massachusetts, Elizabeth Warren and Ed Markey. They're a joke. They're a joke. I mean, they live in a state with a lot of, frankly, rich, woke, white people. They're quote unquote highly educated, credentialed, professional class, so on and so forth. Well, you know, why don't they pitch in and open up their own pharmacy? Or, you know, better yet, why don't some of these, you know, so-called leftist billionaires, Oprah Winfrey, Taylor Swift, Mark Cuban, why don't they open up pharmacies in these areas? Why don't they open up grocery stores? Because that's another thing you frequently hear about is that, oh, a lot of these areas are food deserts and people don't have access to food, and it's just beyond anything you can say to get through to some of these people. Okay, you need to go into these areas and you need to actually talk to the people and say, well, you know what, if you continue to have these things happen in your neighborhood, then guess what, you're not going to have any businesses, you're not going to have any services in these areas. It's common sense. Makes sense to me, right? I'm not a member of Congress, but Miss Pressley here, Representative Pressley, seems to think that all of these companies should just continue to operate stores, whether they're losing money or whether it's putting their employees in danger, when of course they're not going to do that. They're not that woke. Walgreens is a pretty woke corporation, but they're not going to operate at a loss. They're not going to put their employees in jeopardy if they don't have to. So anyways, that's what I think. Let me know what you all think. And as always, we'll see you on the next one.